Okay, I'm Bernard Scoville, and what I'm going to say tonight is something I wanted to say for a long time. I'm talking about the unsolved murder of President Kennedy. This is 2013. On November 22nd of 2013, it will be 50 years since President Kennedy was killed, and 50 years that his murder has not been solved. That's too long. This was a great country with a great constitution. We shouldn't be living like a banana republic. Now, first of all, about why was President Kennedy killed? There was a lot of things involved. For one was the Cold War hysteria, that some people in the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the CIA, they thought President Kennedy was a communist because he was negotiating with Khrushchev and Fidel Castro and trying to avoid another Cuban Missile Crisis. And he steadfastly refused, day after day, to unilaterally bomb the Soviet Union, knowing that it would take 100 million lives if he did so. But he wanted to save the planet and the world for peace. And he said that if he was reelected, he would get rid of the CIA and probably have stopped the war in Vietnam. But he never lived to do that. Now, there's a few books that you can read if you want to know more about this, and I hope you'll read them. One of the main ones is this book here, JFK and the Unspeakable. Now, in this book, the author, James Douglas, he doesn't say specifically who killed the president, but he points out how the president getting a neutral Laos instead of United States bloc Laos. They're trying to, at every point in fighting the Cold War, to make every country either part of the United States or part of Russia. They were trying to polarize the world. And Kennedy didn't want that. And another thing was that led President Johnson was being pursued in Congress. As vice president, his crimes, including crimes of murder, were starting to catch up with him in Congress. And if he, in the next term, if JFK was still president, he would maybe go to jail, LBJ, and all his life LBJ had said he wanted to be president. From the time he was a little boy, he always was saying that to everybody he met, even reporters, when he was in the Senate and in Congress and the Senate. Okay, now here's some things that we should understand about the CIA and LBJ. Those are the conspirators that killed President Kennedy. The CIA is famous for installing dictatorships all over the world because they want countries that will serve United States corporations and the United States military. They don't want countries that will serve their own local people. And so the CIA, it's scary to me that the CIA is operating in the United States, which they did when they killed President Kennedy. But the CIA, you know, President Truman wanted to get rid of the CIA. He said, this is not, I helped found the CIA. This is not what I wanted. I wanted intelligence for the presidents. Instead, we got a bunch of people running around the world causing all kinds of problems. And JFK felt the same way. Just as Eisenhower had warned about the military-industrial complex, JFK wanted to get rid of the CIA because it was totally out of control. And so it's natural that they might want to get rid of him before he became reelected and could get rid of them. Now, LBJ is an interesting component with this. You know, in 1978, our Congress, the U.S. Congress, the Select Committee on Assassination, said, hey, the murder of President Kennedy was probably a conspiracy. Well, if you think about it, who's the conspirators that could do it? Well, the CIA, maybe the FBI, and LBJ, because LBJ would be able to cover the murder up, working with his partner, J. Edgar Hoover. They were neighbors in Washington, D.C., J. Edgar Hoover and LBJ. In fact, J. Edgar Hoover got Jack Kennedy to get him on the ticket as vice president. J. Edgar Hoover got Jack Kennedy to do that. So LBJ was the one that, if Jack Kennedy was killed, he would gain the most, and he was one that could actually do it and cover up the crime. The thing about LBJ, a lot of things about him. He like 6'4" tall, a huge man, very active, especially in his younger years. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He could do all kinds of good things, like bring electricity to rural Texas. And he could do all kinds of evil things, like having people that opposed his agriculture policies, like Henry Wallace, or Harry Wallace, I'm not sure, I think it's Henry Wallace, killed by Mac Wallace. LBJ had a hitman, Mac Wallace, who killed several people that, in fact, even a maid that had seen LBJ with one of his mistresses, and LBJ had her eliminated so she wouldn't tell anybody that he was seeing a mistress. So anyhow, here's the other book that I would highly recommend. This one, in fact, this was the highest recommendation, because this book actually shows how LBJ did kill, with the help of the CIA and the help of the FBI to cover it up, and the Warren Commission, how LBJ did kill President Kennedy. You know, this is a great country, but it's not guaranteed. We have a good constitution and everything, but unless we work and fight to keep our great country, we can easily lose it. And I'm hoping that you'll help me fight and work so that people will solve the murder of President Kennedy, and this country will no longer be a banana republic.